Hi everyone, I'm Shelly from There's No Place Like Home at redheadmom8.wordpress.com. I'm down to the last video for curriculum week, and the reason that I actually saved this for last is because the high school years are probably the most difficult for me to describe because of the way that we've begun to do it the last few years. Because in all honesty, my kids, the closer that they get to graduation, are truly almost unschoolers. So I'm going to share with you our 2019-2020 curriculum for my daughter, and it may be less than what you'd expect for a high school senior. Okay, you probably already guessed from my intro, but my homeschool philosophy for the high school years are completely the opposite of most other homeschooling families that I have at least come across. Because while a lot of other homeschooling families are really cramming things in those last 4 years because they want to make sure that their kids get everything covered that they have to. They know that this is that final chapter in that education, or at least they think of it that way. And they just want to make sure that they cover all the bases, do everything right. And I was the same way at first with my first homeschool graduate. In her senior year of high school, I did that, cramming everything in and trying to make sure that she was able to cover everything until she got a job. And I started to see that she was learning more from her job and from being out in the real world than she ever would have learned from the textbooks that I was setting before her. Because even though she really did enjoy textbook learning, she would often tell me that even though she was, getting good grades and doing well on the quizzes, because at that time I was still giving her quizzes, she told me that she never remembered anything afterwards. She readily admitted that, she liked that style of learning just because she was in school longer than any of my other kids, but it wasn't sticking. And, I'm glad that she was at least honest enough to admit that to me, because when she told me that, it really did help me to see that she needed to learn so many things that had nothing to do with sit-down school learning in that senior year of high school. And I think that it's something that a lot of traditional schoolers, now I'm not speaking of homeschoolers, I'm talking about traditional, like as in public school, private school, brick and mortar school setting. They don't really get that senior year of high school. They don't get that transitional period from becoming a student into becoming an adult. And that is something that I think is missed, and it's something that is really important. So it's something that I have started to implement into our homeschool. Especially the senior year is a time for your child to transition from student to adult. And what better way to do it than under your wing? And yes, you can incorporate learning in with it. But I think that it defeats the purpose to just cram them down with all sorts of textbook learning, because in all honesty, they're probably not going to retain much of that anyway. What they need are real life skills. And there are some traits that I really try to instill in my kids at this point that I will share with you right now, just so that you get a better understanding of why our homeschool curriculum for my 12th grader next year is so sparse. So first of all, the first thing that I want for my kids by the time that they graduate is to possess a genuine love of learning. If you are cramming things into your kids, especially that senior year, it's very likely that they're not going to love learning. They are going to avoid it at all costs. And, one thing that I have discovered since I started homeschooling my kids is that curiosity is a wonderful thing. I am always reading now. I'm always searching things. I'm always just looking for the answers to things that had never even crossed my mind before. And that is what I want for my kids, because I honestly believe that I have learned more these years of homeschooling my kids than I learned in all my years of schooling. Far more. So another thing that I want my kids to be able to do by the end of our homeschool years is I want them to know how to self-educate. And that really goes in with what I was just talking about now. I want them to know how to find answers when they're looking for them. I want them to know how to tell the difference between reliable sources and not so reliable sources. And Sadly, it's getting harder and harder to do nowadays. I want them to understand that you have to look at both sides of things, because if they are not seeing both sides of every story, they are not getting anything but propaganda. Both sides of the story give you the entire picture. I also want them to learn to be independent. This isn't the time that you should still be doing everything for your homeschooler. And this even comes down to giving them all of their assignments or telling them what they have to do for school all the time. You need to give them that independence so that they can go out there and they can learn the things that they think are important. If they have plans for college, they can find out. And of course, you can help them, but you should let them figure out how it is that they want to approach the things that they have to know in order to get into the college of their choice. And I'm actually going to talk a little bit more about college after I show the curriculum. Another thing that I want for my kids is I want them to never equate learning with school. And I want my kids to be lifelong learners. I don't want my kids to think that learning is a switch. When they're homeschooling, they're learning, and when they're not homeschooling, they're not. No, life is about learning. Life schooling is a better synonym for what I'm trying to do with my kids. They're not only the senior year of high school, I'm trying to incorporate a lot of life schooling in throughout all of our years of homeschooling. But as I mentioned in the intro to this video, the senior year, this is her final chapter. And what better way for her to learn the most important and the most, the issues that are going to have the biggest impact on her, but through life itself. Another thing that I want them to learn by the time that they graduate is to trust in their abilities. And they are going to gain that by being given the opportunity to be more independent, to make their own choices, to decide how it is that they want to spend their time, what it is that they want to be doing, what they want to be learning about, how they want to learn it. And I also want my kids to just trust in God to bring His will for them into fruition, because ultimately that is what's going to happen. It has to be God's will. And I think that it's so important that we trust that He's going to see things through for them. And that really does help to alleviate so many fears that I had as a homeschooling parent, and that I think a lot of homeschooling parents have as well. So anyway, now that I got that into the open about my philosophy towards homeschooling high school and why I think it is so important that they are given the freedom to just explore life in this final year, and to shadow you, to watch how you do things, be alongside of you. And, chances are, well, not even chances are, it's highly likely that since they've been homeschooling, they've been watching you all along. But now is the time for you to really take them under your wing so that you can show them the ins and outs of what it is to be an adult. So with that being said, I will show you the few pieces of curriculum that I have for my kids, for my 17-year-old for next year. So for grammar, she is going to continue with daily grams. Now, the reason that she does not have this finished already, there are 180 lessons in it, is just because she does not do it every day. She does a lot of writing. She does a lot of notebooking. So daily grams isn't something that I tell her she 100% has to do every day. I just want her to work through the book and to at least be finished with it by the time that she is done with school. But she's well on her way already. I'll just give you another glimpse of that. Besides that, for writing, I mentioned that notebooking is huge for her. She is a really big Charlotte Mason learner, so that is what you will find her doing all the time. She still enjoys doing copy work. She still enjoys doing notebooking pages. And this isn't even something that she does in just her school time. She does this in her spare time, in her free time. She actually came and woke me up last night. I was dozing off on the couch, and she woke me up to show me that she had written out 4 pages of short biographies on different historical figures that I had never even heard of before. And I said to her, what did you do this for? Meaning, did you do this for history? Did you do this for, well, it wouldn't have been for science. It was for historical figures. Yeah, so I guess I meant, did you do this for history? But she said, I just did it because my friend was telling me about these people and I felt like it. And I'm like, yes, that is exactly what I want for my kids. So daily grams, yes, she's doing it, but She is getting far more experience by doing the things that I just mentioned, actually delving in there and researching things because she wants to, and yes, writing about them. My daughter has always been a writer. I remember the time when she was in 4th grade, we watched Helen Keller, and she wrote a 2-page report on the movie, and I didn't even ask her to. And so she has really been like that throughout all of her years. She's my writer. And same as me too. She's a nonfiction writer. I was never good at fiction, and she tends to lean towards more nonfiction or narrative style writing also. So anyway, to go along with that, actually, you know what? I can do that. I got her a garden journal just because, again, it fits right in with her style of learning. She will be doing nature study with the rest of her siblings next year. We already started doing gardening. That's what it is. Gardening. We started it last week, and she will be doing it with them. Obviously, she's going to have her own little projects to do. But I found this on Amazon, and I ordered it not really knowing what to expect. And when I saw the inside of it, I thought, this will be perfect for Ariana. That's her name. And so when I showed it to her, she immediately said, I love it. And she actually already started writing in it now. She's excited about getting her garden all ready. Another thing that we will be using is the Handbook of Nature Study. Nature study is huge in our house. All of my kids are outdoor kids. Ariana is no exception. And when I say outdoor kids, for most of my kids, that means, doing sports. Ariana is not that type of outdoor but she does like to do exploring. She likes to look at flowers. She likes to take nature walks, those sorts of outdoor activities. So the Handbook of Nature Study, which I am also doing with the rest of my kids, is going to give me a lot of definite activities to do for nature study. Up until this point, our nature studies have basically been about exploring and observing. And I want something more concrete, which is why we have focused a lot on gardening, but I'm also hoping to get some ideas from here as well. So in addition to that, for nature study, she will also be working in the Book of Gardening Projects for Kids. Yes, it says for kids, but I am a novice gardener. I know nothing about gardening. And actually, my daughter, Ariana, she knows more about gardening than I do because she used to help our old neighbor in her garden almost every single day. So I will probably be looking to Ariana for help in this department. So I have a feeling that it will be her teaching my kids about gardening more than it will be me. But that's a good thing because I think that a lot of us parents know that we will learn more through teaching than as if we were the actual learner, because I think it affects almost a different part of your brain, especially when you know that you are responsible for educating someone else. For math, well, actually, algebra. She will probably be moving into geometry. We've been taking our time through algebra simply because I would rather have my daughter completely understand algebra, like to a T, than to just have a vague knowledge of it, but she could probably never do it again if she tried, just so that we could finish it in a year. So yeah, we've been working slowly through it. We will be using ctcmath.com. And what I like about that is that once she does get through the algebra, we can move right on to the next level, and we can just keep going after that. So for history, Ariana is a history buff. She absolutely loves reading living books, historical fiction, biographies. So our library card is honestly her curriculum for history. That is what she's been doing for years. And not only does she read these books, yes, she notebooks about them. And she finds movies that have to go with the books. I know that she really liked The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. What else was the other one? The Book Thief. That was another one that she really enjoyed when she was learning about World War II. And so this isn't something that I have to push on her. These are all things that she is doing on her own. So I always think to myself, why would I try to push something on her when she is readily learning things on her own? And that is why I said that she is almost unschooling, because I barely give her a nudge. And she is out there learning about all sorts of things. Now, let's talk a little bit about college. At this point, Ariana is not sure about whether she wants to go to college or not. And I'm actually okay with that. I lean towards entrepreneurship, and I see a lot of the craziness that goes on in colleges nowadays, and I see that it is not education, it is complete indoctrination. So I'm fine with that. But one good thing that we actually have for us is that our community college here actually allows homeschoolers to just take a placement test in lieu of transcripts, in lieu of giving them transcripts. So that really makes things a lot easier for me as a homeschooling mom, because I can just have her tested and they will put her wherever she belongs. That is what my oldest daughter did, the one that ended up, she pretty much almost unschooled her senior year too. And actually so did my son last year, who graduated. Ariana will be my third homeschool graduate and my third almost unschooler her senior year. And anyway, my oldest daughter, when she took her placement test, she did awesome. She actually did better than her friends who were in public school, and she did far, far less book work than they do. But again, she was out there experiencing real life, and she also was seeing to it that she was learning the things that she knew that she was going to have to brush up on for the test. She did it, and she was awesome. So I'm not nervous about those sorts of things, because I know, I have faith in my kids. I trust my kids, and I know that when they put their minds to it, they will accomplish so many things. And that is what I see with Ariana too. I can see it now. I could see it when she was in 4th grade. She's a go-getter. She always has been. That is actually all of my homeschool curriculum, my solid homeschool curriculum that I have for her. So this is probably like the smallest amount of homeschool curriculum that you've ever seen for a 12th grader, unless they were unschooling, in which case, life itself would be their only curriculum. So yes, her biggest resource will be the library. That is mainly where she will be getting most of her information. She will be getting, as I mentioned, historical fictions. She will be getting biographies, autobiographies. She will be getting nonfiction books, otherwise known as trade books. That is where she gets most of her information. And to be honest, I believe that those types of books are far more effective than a textbook, which just gives you little boring snippets of information that the textbook publishers were told that they had to include. I would much rather have her get a deeper and more well-rounded look into a certain topic. And what better way to do that than by grabbing a bunch of books from the library on a particular area. So one more thing that I wanted to talk about, because I know that people will ask me. In my state, I originally was going to have my kids go through a diploma program and get an accredited homeschool diploma, and that was years ago. But in 2014, my state of Pennsylvania passed a law that said that the evaluator issued diplomas are equal to high school diplomas. They must be counted as equal to high school diplomas. What that means is that my evaluator and I determine her credits. We determine if she has covered everything. My evaluator will sign her diploma, and that is equal to a high school diploma. And I love the freedom that that gives us, because the accredited diploma agency that we were going to go through was very schoolish and very opposite of everything that I believe in about education. So this law change in 2014 was amazing for us. And I don't see that it would have any sort of negative impact on my kids' education. I have actually even seen other homeschoolers who just took their GED, and they still went on to succeed. They went on to community college, transferred to 4-year colleges. And again, I don't put all my stock in college. Let your children be who they are. They can surprise you. There are so many well-known people out there like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. I might not necessarily like Bill Gates very much, but he didn't go to college. Look where he is today. So anyway, that is, I think, everything that I wanted to say about this. So anyway, if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you might be able to leave one down below if my comments are not disabled. They probably still are. If they are, head on over to Instagram. I'll leave that link below as well, and you can ask me any questions you'd like there on any of my posts. It's fine. I'll talk to you there. And if you like my work, you can check out my Patreon page and see what rewards I have for my patrons there. And I hope you have a great day.